I'm done with this. It was a ride to say the least. So what do I think about Leviathan Wakes? I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought. So what is Leviathan Wakes about? It's following two main characters called Miller and Holden, and one is an ice miner on the rings of Saturn, while the other is a detective. And Holden comes across a ship that seems to be abandoned, and that is the catalyst for all the events that are to happen. That leads both Holden and Miller on a chase for this girl that went missing, and revealing a conspiracy that is much bigger than themselves. That is the plot of the story. But what do I think of this? Unfortunately, I did not enjoy this as much as I thought. When I initially started the book, it opened up really explosively. I think it's one of those books with a very excellent first line. It starts with, "The Scopuli has been taken 8 days ago, and Julie Mao was finally ready to be shot." And I was like, what? What do you mean you're ready to be shot? And that really stirred me on to read the first 100 pages of this book and really, really enjoy it. However, by the middle portion of the book, I really started to not enjoy myself. I was getting a bit bored. I was getting very confused. And by the end, I was just begging for this book to sort of end. But it doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy myself enough. So when it comes to the prose, the writing style, characters, and the main storyline, I find that James S.A. Corey's strongest point would probably be the writing. Not because that it's very excellent, but more like it's very straightforward in a not really in the Brandon Sanderson way. He writes in a very straightforward manner that lets you know what is exactly going on, but at the same time, not exactly confusing you with too many flowery purple prose terms. So he knows how to write very gripping lines that pushes you onto the next and onto the next and onto the next chapter. That's why I find that the writing is probably the best part of the entire thing. When it comes to the story itself, it is very intriguing. We are following a mystery. It should be very exciting, and then it's a lot about the politics afterwards when they find out what happens to the mystery girl that they are looking for. And though I thought I would be invested, it turns out that this mystery and conspiracy was not necessarily up my alley. And not to spoil, I wouldn't necessarily reveal it, but it's just not my cup of tea. It became very bland to me, like, oh, you mean this entire conspiracy was just more like human related than, extraterrestrial related, which it was what I was hoping for. I was hoping for it to be less of a government political thing and rather a interstellar political thing, which, I mean, I don't know if that necessarily spoils it, but it still doesn't reveal what exactly is the issue with this book. I think, most importantly, the character building was not up to standard for me. I'm not the biggest fan of either our two main characters, Holden or Miller, because they're both insanely infuriating characters. Miller seems to be a guy that's very big on his values, like he really values doing the right thing. But I find that because of that he chooses to always impose his own values onto someone, even though not everyone will agree that what he thinks is right is necessarily the right thing. And so it's almost as if he's bombarding someone else, like especially Miller, with his own opinions. And I really don't care about his opinions and how he's such an upstanding guy, or at least how he claims to be. An additional point that made me super annoyed with this guy is the fact that this guy always puts himself into different romantic relationships of some sort. Whatever female character he comes into encounter with, he will almost automatically want to associate himself with them romantically, even though the female counterpart may not be necessarily interested. And he was kind of annoying because at some point he encounters a female, like he ends up being alone with a female in some senses because his team is only comprised of men and one other female, and then he just starts to see her as some sort of romantic partner, even though he had not even laid his eyes on her at any point in time in the book. And it was just frustrating to see him to be that kind of guy that says like, you're the one, like I love you, like really really easily, and I felt like slapping him. Although the good thing about that characteristic of him is that the characters will not hesitate to call him up on his bullshit, and I was super thankful for it. But still, which made me really dislike Holden a lot. Like there were so many things about him that I just couldn't root for. I don't have to agree with my characters, but I just couldn't root for him. And when it came to Miller, I didn't like that they made him sort of crazy and start to hallucinate for no apparent reason. Like I don't know why he was so stuck up on this mysterious girl and start to hallucinate about her. And he's probably the character that is meant to be the direct opposite of Holden in the way that he lacks morals and he'll just do whatever he wants in terms of what he truly believes in, even though most of them are not moral at all. Like he'll just do whatever the hell he wants according to what he feels is right. And though I admire this kind of qualities in a person, that they don't have to be a moral person, but at least they stand up to their own values in that sense, the annoying part is that he just doesn't listen to anyone. And I'm just wondering, like, could he not hallucinate like better things? Did he have to hallucinate some like random mysterious girl that he literally has no ties towards? Yeah. So because of all that, I didn't really enjoy any of our two main characters. I didn't root for them, and I'm someone who has to root for their main characters even if they're not good people. Like they don't have to be good people. Like I just have to understand from their point of view and then root for them. And so these characters are both annoying. I don't think James S.A. Corey meant for me to hate on these two characters. I didn't hate them, I just kind of disliked them. Also to point out, I just wanted a PSA that James S.A. Corey is actually made out of two authors. It's cool, and I understand why they did like a POV for Miller, POV for Holden. Yeah, that's really cool. I want to talk about the other things that made this not to my personal taste. I really, really do love sci-fi. But I realized the type of sci-fi that I actually enjoy is probably something that is more fantasical in its nature. Means it's something that is more inventive. So maybe that is about aliens or just physics that don't actually really exist in our plane and space. But with this, I think they kept talking a lot about science fiction, like actual science terms with physics and like gravitational force and entropy. Like it brought in chemistry. Like I have no idea what they are talking about. I got really really confused and I truly did not understand, like all the way to the end, what G-force and the I didn't understand what is so significant about G-force. What I mean by that is that I think, you know, when they ramp up G-force when they are like driving the ship, I didn't really understand why it was so significant for it to be at such a high level. I felt like I couldn't understand it all the way to the end. Like why is this G-force being at 19 so damn hurtful on the body? And I didn't get it. So not that James S.A. Corey had to explain that to me, but it's just something that I didn't have base knowledge on, and so I was just basically confused. But then I learned that so G-force is the gravitational force on Earth, and whatever times, like if it's 19, it's 19 times of our gravitational force. So I guess truly puts a weight on your body and really hurts it, I guess. So that's what I found out, but ultimately that's like way after I read it. And even though my partner, I asked my partner to explain to me, I kind of just couldn't remember like and put it as my base knowledge for this book. And that really hurt my enjoyment about the book, but it's not the book's fault. It's totally my personal taste and inability to actually remember science like that. And though the story was actually quite fun and impactful, like I told you, even though I was kind of bored by the politics, it was still very action-packed where our characters are never really standing still at any moment. I didn't really care too necessarily much. And I realized that ultimately that this book would have probably been just a better medium for me as a movie or TV series rather than a written word. So, we already have the Expanse series on Amazon Prime, so I could probably just continue watching that instead of reading this. And to be not fair to actually Leviathan Wakes, I was comparing this a lot to the Song Joong Ki movie on Netflix, where they did also a similar concept where in that world there is a bunch of people who they're like a group of people that collect useful trash in the solar system and try to sell it to make a pound, a coin. So in that show, they also find a lost ship and a lost girl that would insinuate a whole big conspiracy theory and mystery that revolves around her. And it's actually super duper fun. And also, the reason why I wanted to pick Leviathan Wakes up was a lot of because of that movie, and I was comparing them a lot. And I realized it's not fair because clearly the movie is a visual medium, and so any exciting like parts can literally be shown to me, and music plays a very big part, acting and facial expressions play a very big part, and so that's not something that Leviathan Wakes can do because it's a totally different medium. And so it's not fair to compare, but unfortunately I had the experience of something else of a similar storyline in a different medium. And so that sort of also impaired my Leviathan Wakes enjoyment level. So, what do you think is the amount of stars I gave to this? I think with all the negative things I'm saying, you're probably expecting it to be lower, but I'm giving you this about a 2.5 stars. I still enjoyed myself to a certain level where everything is very action-packed and is pushing me through the story, and I have to acknowledge that I enjoyed myself in the first half of the book. So I'm not trying to let my second half of the book impact my enjoyment level. So about 2.5 stars seems appropriate. But how badly do I want to continue this book? Out of 5 dragons, it's really like 0 dragons. I'm not excited at all. With where it ends, it feels like it just wraps up nicely. And if I didn't get my questions answered, it won't be like I'm missing out on a lot. I could just leave it as it is. And so actually, I'm not gonna be keeping this anymore. It was fun while it lasted, but unfortunately, this is the first dud in the series. Oh gosh, I'm sad to say that, but I hope you liked this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you read Leviathan Wakes, tell me what you thought about it down below. And don't forget to check out my previous video on The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. Otherwise, see you next time. Bye!